Motorcycles and intersections. We've all heard those stories of cars pulling in front of motorcycles. In fact, if you've been riding for very long at all, you probably face this challenge yourself. Many riders like to blame the drivers for not looking, for being distracted, or just not caring about motorcycles on the road as the source of the problem, and there may be some truth to that. But there are many things that a rider can do to make themselves more visible and to reduce the odds of a car pulling out in front of you. So let's discuss some tips this week that will make you more visible on intersections and keep you safer out on the road. And we'll call our strategy for visibility the 3 B's. You want to be conspicuous, you want to be in position, and you want to be a little bit weird. So let's start with being conspicuous. The dictionary defines conspicuous as standing out so as to be clearly visible. When a car driver pulls up to a stop sign and they do that quick glance to the left and they're looking up the road, what is it that they're looking for? Well, they're looking for oncoming cars and trucks, and they're usually not consciously looking for motorcycles. Whether we like it or not, looking to the left and to see a motorcycle approaching the intersection is the exception rather than the rule. As a result, motorcycles are often not seen. There are a whole lot of studies that have been done on this phenomena, and it's called saccadic masking. And this is a process in which the brain replaces blank spaces in a quick scan of the roadway with recent memories or images from previous experiences. So let me explain that a little bit further. A driver pulls up to a stop sign. They do that quick glance. Subconsciously, their mind says, it's usually clear at this intersection or intersections like this one. And oftentimes, unless something sticks out to their brain will tell the driver, yep, all clear, let's go. So the car pulls out in the intersection, the rider hits the car, and the car driver tells the police later, I never saw him. One way that we can be conspicuous is by wearing brightly colored riding gear, and depending on the motorcycle that you're on, this can have a varying degree of effect. On my Indian Challenger, I've got that big fairing in front, and it covers just about everything from here down. So my riding gear has less of an effect on that, the color of my riding gear does, than it would on different motorcycles because it covers up most of me as I'm moving down the road. So I think a more effective means of being conspicuous is adding extra lights to the front of your motorcycle. That motorcycle with a single headlight is not nearly as visible as a motorcycle with a triangulation of headlights or, a headlight and 2 driving lights coming up the road. That's going to make a motorcycle a whole lot more visible, in my opinion, than brightly colored riding gear will. Driving lights not only look good on the motorcycle, in my opinion, they make the bike and the rider that much more visible. So our first B is to be conspicuous. The second B is to be in position. In short, stay out of the blind spots of other drivers or cars around you, and be in a position on the road that the driver is most likely to glance to or look at when they look up the road. Out of fear, a whole lot of riders are going to ride way over as far away from traffic as they possibly can, right up next to the curb almost on some city streets. So they position their motorcycle way to the outside to the lane as possible out of fear of the other traffic. But when a driver glances up the road, they're not expecting to see another vehicle approaching them at 50 miles per hour, positioned right by the curb. Simply being in position, a rider can give the car driver a much better chance of seeing them. This all requires some active positioning and forethought on the part of the rider. Riding a motorcycle is not a passive sport. The moment you become a passenger on your motorcycle and not the pilot of the motorcycle, you're asking yourself for trouble. So be in position. That includes keeping some separation from you and the cars around you and staying out of the blind spots of other vehicles and positioning yourself on the road so that you can best be seen. If you're approaching an intersection and you glance ahead and you can't see the driver of the car that's waiting at that intersection, you can be rest assured that that driver can't see you. And even if the blind spot is temporary, like you pass a pole or a large tree or something, and you're temporarily in the blind spot of that car sitting at the intersection, if that's the case, as far as that driver is aware, you don't exist. And riders, we need to be actively positioning ourselves to stay out of those blind spots And those ones that we can't help, we need to be aware of that and pay extra attention to that driver, because there's a very good chance that that driver didn't see us. They may give that quick glance at just the time we get behind that blind spot, and they may never know that we're there. So be conspicuous, be in position, and be a little bit weird. So what do I mean by being weird? Remember earlier in this video we talked about saccadic masking. It's where the driver expects the road to be clear, they glance up the road, and if nothing stands out, the brain gives the driver an all clear and off they go. So you want to be a little bit weird. What can we do to be weird or stand out in ways that we haven't already mentioned? A lot of riders don't like headlight modulators. Those are the electronics that make the headlight flash on and off on the motorcycle. Regardless of what you think about modulators, I can tell you that they work. And in fact, I think there is not a single change that you can make to your riding gear, to your motorcycle, or maybe even your lane position that's going to have a bigger impact on your visibility on the road than a modulator will. I've had modulators on my Yamaha FJR and on my Honda Gullwing, and you can tell a difference in the way drivers react to you on the road. They notice you, and it makes you a little bit weird out on the road because it's not often you see a flashing headlight. And they are legal in all 50 states here in the U.S. But maybe you don't want to be weird all of the time and you don't like modulators. You just want to be weird when you have to be. Something else that you can do to draw attention to yourself, especially when approaching an intersection, is a slight weave back and forth. Not a super aggressive weave that's going to get the motorcycle all out of balance, but just a slight weave that's going to create some lateral motion between you and the background is going to be a lot to help that driver pick you up on the road and see you sooner. So as riders, we can blame the driver for not seeing us. That may help you win the court case, but it does little to help you avoid the crash. And I don't know about you, but I'd take avoiding the crash every day of the week over winning the court case. So if you want to improve your odds to avoid being in that crash to begin with, be conspicuous, be in position, and you got my permission, be a little bit weird. Till next week, guys, it's Kevin with MCrider, and I'll see you on the road.